Hello, 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 K Sports Boxing fans. This is a special episode of African Boxing Unmasked. Special episode of African Boxing Unmasked. As you know, on African Boxing Unmasked, we are here to talk about normally African boxing and how we can export African boxing positively. But of course, you cannot export it without improving on it. So sometimes we criticize, but again, we criticize to elevate, to improve, so that we can export African boxing out there positively. Now, today is a special interview I have with someone who really has African boxing at heart and in his own small way, doing what he can to export African boxing. He's a gentleman named Michael Bassoon. Um, he was born in Sierra Leone, but currently resides in the United Kingdom. and from there, he's founded Alpha Male Sports Entertainment and All African Boxing Control. He's also the president of the WBU Africa. And he is here to tell us about what all these entities I spoke is about. I spoke of is about a little background of himself, and then we'll take it from there. But like always, this is African Boxing Unmasked. Stay tuned. All right, viewers, in your view is Mr. Michael Bassoon. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me okay.
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, great, wonderful.
So, sir, we're going to discuss, of course, what you do and how you contribute to African boxing. But you say you were from information that we have, you are Sierra Leonean, but you are now in the UK and doing some things with boxing, right?
So I was I left Sierra Leone when I was about 6-7 years old. So I'm sure some Sierra Leoneans might not want to claim me, but nevertheless, I'm still Sierra Leonean. So I lived in the UK from when I was about 6-7 years old. But I think some of them still claim me, so it's okay.
And you also claim them. That's probably why you're still doing
100%.
We have similar stories. As long as your heart is in Africa.
I'm in Gambia right now.
Look at that.
I have several different projects that I'm working on in Gambia. So I'll be flying back to the UK on Tuesday. But I've been in Gambia for the last 9-10 days or so. So Africa is definitely my heart. I'm in Rwanda. I'm in different parts of Africa doing different projects.
Great. So let's get right into it. Before we go into all the things you are doing, how did you come into boxing? Anything related to boxing? What's your background there?
Well, I mean, I've been always interested in sports and sports development. And when I was younger, I probably done every kind of sport that you can think of. Football, boxing, tennis, everything that you can do. I basically took part in. And obviously I went into business. I played competitive football, but didn't really quite make it to the level of, where I have any bragging rights. So I'll leave that there. But I think I was pretty good at football. And I went into the business world and, I had my own business, worked for, some of the top companies in the UK, but my heart to develop, sports as a whole was always there. I like to see things happen. I like to see Africa as a continent do better in all things. So even my business is mostly in Africa, even though it comes from the UK. We transport everything over to Africa and try to like you said in your intro, we can only do our little bit that we can do in our surrounding to make as much difference as we can. So development has always been a big part of what I do, whether it's sponsorships, schools, whatever it may be. And it reached a point of where, in fact, I first sponsored the Gambian Football Federation for a couple of years through a renewable energy company that I had in Gambia. And not much happened from it. It cost me a lot of money, but not much happened from it. And a lot of the teams, the football teams, the managers said to me, you know what, it would have been good if you actually invested in the individual teams rather than sponsoring the whole GFF, because you know how it is in Africa. I'm not going to say much, but you know how it is. And from there, I just realized, look, I've always been into boxing. I've always been to sports development, and I've always wanted to have an academy. So we went on to, open a sports academy. And so it's the Alpha Male Boxing and Sports Academy in the Gambia. And, we didn't want to do anything substandard. So we actually had something in a very nice location on the beach, close to the beachfront in the Gambia, state-of-the-art equipment. I was introduced to a gentleman. We ended up becoming quite good friends. But he was the former WBO and British champion. His name is Jason Matthews. And I asked for his aid to help promote boxing in Africa as a whole. So we just started taking step by steps, having baby steps in what it took to actually not only start to promote boxing, having small tournaments, but also putting the All African Boxing Board of Control, the legal side of boxing, the professional side of boxing together, so that we can start bringing Africa on par with the rest of the world.
I want to stop you right there, because you introduced a very big point of this interview, which I feel like our viewers may be interested in. So you said you established the legal aspect, and you said the words or the statement of the name, the entity, All Africa Boxing Control.
No, All African Boxing Board of Control.
All Africa Boxing.
It was taken from the British Boxing Board of Control. So our bylaws are almost identical or similar to the British Boxing Board of Control. Well, I live in the UK, so we look at what is what's the template, you understand, for excellence, and we literally just mimicked all of it and stripped it down to Africa, and it's called the All African Boxing Board of Control.
So the All Africa Boxing Board of Control was set up to do exactly what? Because there are a lot of different entities in Africa when it comes to boxing. How's this different?
So Alpha Male Sports Entertainment is the promotional arm to what we do. So that's the promotional arm. The All African Boxing Board of Control is, like I said, the legal entity. So making sure that the boxers turn pro properly, that they can turn pro, making sure that all the medicals are put in place. Because, there's a lot of things that happen in Africa. It's not done, some things are not done properly. Of no fault of their own to a certain extent, or I should say no fault of our own. Let me put myself in the mix. So we had to start putting things in place, medical, getting scans, getting CT scans, whatever it may be, making sure that all fights, there's an ambulance, close by, there's doctors close by to make sure if there's any cuts, if there's anything that happens, making sure that even the promoters that are connected to us have the right kind of license, making sure the boxers have the right kind of license, making sure that boxers are competent in, there's no mismatches and stuff like that, because obviously we realize as well, this is a brutal sport. And if we're going to allow somebody to fight, we need to make sure that they're good enough to protect themselves and being able to fight, because death happens in the ring, people die. And as an entity that we are very serious about, we don't want that kind of situation on us. So one of the things that we did, I mean, and I can tell you some of the funny stories of how we got to where we are, but we ended up having maybe about 10, 11 West African countries actually signed onto the All African Boxing Board of Control. Why? Because they saw what we were doing. They saw what we were doing it properly. And one of the things that I've been selling to the whole of Africa is like, look, we need to have one entity that is respected globally. Because you said something that it makes a lot of sense. If you have all these cowboys around, and not all of them are cowboys, by the way, so I'm just saying, or if you have everything that can just pop up and people just make up names and stuff like that, what happens is it's not taken seriously because it's almost like an overkill of everybody's got something going on. But when we created the All African, we meant it to be the All African, the All African Boxing Board of Control, which means, we're not trying to control everything. We create directors in each regions. So if we're talking about Nigeria, we want Nigeria to have the best director that can manage the boxers. And the director would have a secretary. They would have their own board of advisors and everything. They come under the All African Boxing Board of Control, but they pretty much control their own regions, which means it empowers individuals and their regions to be able to be under one entity, but still operate in a way that they've been guided to say, look, these are the bylaws. You understand? Because, one of the things, the problems that we have, and you probably have experienced this or witnessed it, we're not qualifying for a lot of Olympics, especially West Africa. We're not qualifying, you understand? And most of the lack of qualification is they go to some of these qualifying matches or whatever, they're not making weight, they're not doing the right things, their coach don't understand what they're getting disqualified before they even start. You understand?
And it happened twice in the Olympics this past year.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I'm aware of that. And so we're trying to say, look, we've got the guidelines that's there, and we're empowering the directors of those regions. We're not trying to control them, but we want to. It's like McDonald's. If McDonald's McDonald's is the vein of everything, or the heart of everything, but they have franchises. But the franchise can't just do whatever they want. You understand?
True.
The franchise has to still have to go by the bylaws of McDonald's.
Or at least a little bit of. There are some things that are standard for all.
Yeah, there's a direction. You can't go start making, oh, I want fried chicken in McDonald's, because that's not what they're selling. You understand? So there's a structure in place where any McDonald's that you go, you know what you're gonna get, because there's, so this is the same concept in the sense of boxing. If we have the whole of Africa operating under one guidance, first of all, we become a powerhouse. You understand? We start being, first of all, the international community starts to respect us. We should actually be giving license to Americans and British boxers and European boxers. Why not? Let them come and fight in Africa. You understand? And we'll give them their license. Why do we have to always be going to fight in Europe and be struggling for visa and whatever and blah, blah, and trying to get license and European license and British license and America? Why can't they come as well to Africa? And the reason why that doesn't happen is because we are not united in a way where we have a body that holds everything together and is respected.
Can I say something? So
Yes,
I know that there are some foreign fighters that come to Africa, but I think what you are referring to is if it was a bigger body, we would have more bargaining chip than when it's just a local sanctioning body that is handling this, right?
exactly.
Because usually when they come in, I know especially in the case of Ghana, they usually through the promoters to come and fight. And nobody knows what deals are being made and how in the long run it's going to benefit the country as a whole. So you are saying if we had a bigger body which had more of a control, we'll have a more transparency.
And it can happen. It can happen. I mean, we look back in history, we know that it happened once, Rumble in the Jungle. But it took a brave man and it was a situation that pushed it to be that. But didn't the whole world pay attention?
You're right. And actually, yesterday, a buddy of mine pointed out something to me that is going to happen in Equatorial Guinea. I don't know who is pulling that, but that
Mm.
was very interesting. I don't know if
Mm.
you have seen it. It's
No.
they are bringing a WBC welterweight eliminator
Mm.
to Equatorial Guinea,
Mm.
and I don't know who is pulling that off. The
Yeah.
fighter is based in France. He's of Senegalese background, I think, and
Yeah.
somehow this is coming there. So you are saying that if we had a bigger body, we could bring bigger fights like this to
If we're
Africa.
united, it's
Hmm.
not just about having a bigger body, but if we're united and we there's one voice, it's not a dictatorship because, like I said, the directors have to be able to control their own region. Now, the last big thing that we did, which didn't work out, but I'll tell you what
Hmm.
happened because COVID stopped it from happening. We had
But
a
before you go on to that,
yeah, please.
how long has the organization been in
Since 2018. So
okay,
it's 7 years. It's 7 years. It's not
okay,
bad. It's not
okay.
bad.
How
And we,
come I have never heard of it? At least in the last 5 years.
yeah, I
How do
mean,
you guys promote it?
yeah, I mean, we've had about 10 African countries that's been taking part. We've had tournaments, like I said, in quite a few different African regions. I
Hmm.
was look, most of the time I prefer if the guys have these interviews. I push Mohammed Juf, some of the other guys, Mr.
Hmm.
Kaita in Mali, who's one of the president for WBU Africa. I push these guys to have interviews because I really don't like to say too much of I done this, I done that, whatever. I let them speak about because when they speak, it means more to me because they're not only part of what I've been doing, but they've also paid a huge price in the fact that they've really showed the fact that they love this sport and they love development. But I like them to speak because then they can speak freely about what has been done. But for the sake of this conversation, for
Hmm.
most of West Africa, I
Hmm.
was the first person that paid the boxers.
Hmm.
You understand? And I can tell you some horror stories of how it was very hard to get going. You understand? But I was one of the first people to pay the boxers. And you know what? It was so difficult. I ended up paying the boxers after every match in the ring. I would literally have the money in the envelope. And I paid the boxers, win or lose. I paid the winner, the loser, their managers, the refs, even their managers that came. I put them all in hotels. I paid them. I made sure that they had breakfast, lunch, dinner every day. You understand? And any of those boxers, if you ever interview them, they will all come and say the same thing. Look, the first time we got paid. So the fact that I haven't done anything for a year or so, I mean, I'm getting bombarded every day. Like, Mike, when you stopped, everything just stopped. Like, what's going on? Come on, please, whatever. And there's reasons why I stopped. And I will, if you want me to go into that, I can
And
later on communicate.
definitely, with everything, I know where it seems like you've chalked some success, at least getting 10 African countries
Mm,
to join or are allowed to be a part of it or being a part of it. So
mhm,
I'll say that it's a success.
mhm.
And then what are some of the challenges? So what happened? You said COVID happened. A little bit of it.
The challenge is where do I start? Well, let me work my way backwards. The last big thing that we tried to do was just before COVID. We had because look, I love Africa. I'm a patriot. But listen, I have nothing negative to say about UK. UK is also my country. That's why I grew up.
Hmm.
That's where my kids are. That's where my wife is. This is where life is. My mother,
Hmm.
everything. So I have
Hmm.
nothing negative to say about UK. But I love Africa. I'm one of those
Hmm.
people that really, really love. When I come to Africa, it feels like home.
Hmm.
So the last thing that we done was called the African invasion.
Hmm.
And it was, we had 8 fighters from all over Africa coming to
Hmm.
the UK at the
Hmm.
O2. The O2 is like, I mean, if
Yeah,
you know what the
they
O2
had
is,
a lot of big
everything
fights
done,
there.
everything booked, everything paid for,
Hmm.
all the African fighters ready to come or whatever, and
Hmm.
COVID hit. And that was such a disappointment because this was supposed to be their showcase. And
Hmm.
what happens is, if all of that had worked out, that would have been something that we're doing every year. So we would have had the British invasion or the European invasion coming to Africa, and the
Hmm.
African invasion coming to Europe somewhere, including UK, once a year. So it would have been a tournament that would have happened twice a year, once in Africa, once in the UK, and it would have been something that is pretty special, which I'm looking forward to trying to get that done again, which is going to be the invasion tour.
Nice.
So, like I said, once a year, the
Mm-hmm.
African fighters come to Europe. Once a
Mm-hmm.
year, the European fighters come to Africa. Everything was done, and obviously COVID hit, which was a
Mm-hmm.
disappointment. So that was a challenge. That was a massive challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But rewinding back to the beginning, I'll just tell you, the first tournament that we had, I mean, I can speak about this because this person is no longer in the picture, but the president of the Boxing Association, I won't say what country, ranked all the respective countries that were supposed to take part in that tournament and basically told them, look, we don't know this guy, Michael. We think he's a fraud. And I would advise you not to come and take part in this tournament. And he wrote to all the African countries that were supposed to come. And, you know, it was, you can imagine.
He's an African.
You can imagine I've flown over from the UK. You know, I brought Jason with me, Jason Matthews. You can research, you understand who he is. And we brought over equipment, ring, everything, whatever. And we're now in Gambia. And we're told, look, you know, these guys were in the borders, but they just turned back. So we had to now we had to just carry on doing a tournament, and it was just for Gambians. And we you know, kind of like, put everybody together, you know, the weight class or whatever, done some training, done some promo video, and then we done like a light tournament or whatever. But that went so well, the videos went viral. And these same coaches from the other countries now called me and said, Michael, we're so sorry. We've seen what you've done. And the next time you're doing something, please let us know. And we would like to be part of it. And,
can I say something real quick?
Yes, please. Yes, of course, please. Jump in.
This, what you just described, oftentimes happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with us, but usually when someone is doing something and maybe others are not the ones doing it, they tend to want to sabotage it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, usually the truth comes out.
Yeah, and that's what exactly happened.
So that is the one thing I just want to make that point, because this is African Boxing Unmasked. Please, Africans in the boxing community, when someone has started something, is doing something, even if it is in its infant stages, please support. You never know where it will end. Just because you may not have started it and they have the idea and the resources, still support, because someday it could be you. I just had to put that.
And we didn't come. Listen, I've been in Gambia. I've been coming to Gambia for 23 years. We did not come in a boastful way, not wanting to work with anyone. We actually came and visited the gyms and spoke to the coaches. And in fact, we spoke to the president of the Boxing Association, and he was rude and he was unhelpful or whatever. And I said, listen, you do amateur boxing, we do professional boxing. I'm not even interested. If you don't want to, if this is the way you're treating us, or whatever, it's okay. We don't need to speak to you. And when he saw how things were going on, he started. I mean, there was all kinds of. Listen, let me don't speak too negative about our people. So I'm going to keep it as what it is.
In that way, well, go ahead. In that way, I just want to say there is something similar happening in Ghana, but not that they are always like that, right? But this thing here that is happening, the coaches have been very receptive to this. We've spoken to them, so I just want to make sure that they get their kudos. That not everyone is like that. So Ghanaian coaches, Ghanaian gyms, thanks for supporting this event. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, well done to that. Well done to that. We have to come together. First of all, we need to drop the ego. You understand? We need to drop the. It's almost like we bring tribalism into everything, even when there's no tribalism involved. You understand? There's just this weird mindset that sometimes we can have. But like I said, it's not all negative. I don't want to just speak negative. I mean, there's a lot of negative stuff.
But it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Massive challenge.
That's what we are talking about.
It cost us. You know what? Sometimes people don't realize it cost us a lot of money to even travel, book hotels, put all these things together. But the good thing is, I think 6 months after we'd done the next event, I think about 7-8 countries came, and all the coaches had a meeting with me. And they respected where I was coming from. I respected where they were coming from. And it was a massive success. That particular event
Mm-hmm.
It went out live, and we had a higher viewing than BBC in that 3 hours time span.
Nice.
You understand?
Nice.
What does that tell us? It tells us that we can do something, and it can be successful.
Yes.
You understand? You know, yes, we need. You see, when a promoter is doing something in the UK, they go to the TV channels. The TV channels will sponsor and pay something. They go to sportswear companies, whether it be Nike, Adidas, whatever. They will sponsor. They will do something. They do all these different things, and they're able to accumulate so much wealth for that event that they're able to hold that event and also pay boxers and so on and so forth. You know, a lot of this, the purse for the boxers comes from sponsorships and TV rights and stuff like that. These are the areas of boxing that we need to start exploring more and understanding that this is a business. You understand? We need to be looking at brands. We need to be looking at TV channels. It needs to be pay-per-view. We need to be able to look at the model of how it works and mimic that. We don't need to there's a lot that we don't need to reinvent. There's a lot that we can just
we got the talent, we got the boxers, we just got to channel the business aspect.
The business aspect is what it is. So yeah, the other thing as well is our political individuals that are in charge of sports have to step up. You understand? You know, football is not. I love football. Football's not the only sport.
Yes.
You know,
and that looks like it's a cancer in all African countries. Football always take a priority over other sports.
Can I tell you a quick story? I'll be very, very quick.
All right, go ahead.
So I created all the belts for the All African Boxing Board of Control. So they're just called the AABC. So All African Boxing Championship. Yeah, AABC. And then we'll have the WBU belt. The winner of the WBU belt was a Gambian. The middleweight was a Gambian. So he held the belt. There was a tournament that was happening in Mali. And of course, we've had one in Gambia, we've had one in Senegal. Now it was Mali's turn to host one. I'm going to also tell you my vision for African boxing in a second. Again, it's a very short story. So I'll give you an example of this. So the boxer who is the Gambian boxer, we had to travel to Mali. Every other country, their champions got presidential escorts, they got treated right, they paid for their ticket to travel ever. This one guy would not even get a look in. You understand? Now, because there were so many of us as a team, I think there was maybe about 12 of us, we ended up having to hire one of these mini buses, and we drove all the way from Gambia to Mali. It took us 20-something hours to drive all the way there because we could afford the plane ticket, but I couldn't afford to pay for everybody. You understand? So just to support the boxers, we ended up just saying, you know what, let's all just rough it and go. But this was a champion. This guy had the belt. This guy, his village, when he brought the belt to the village in Gambia, the whole village came out. I'm talking about hundreds of people celebrating. It was such an iconic thing to happen. And I thought to myself, wow, that's such amazing. This is what we want to achieve. The guy from Niger that won his belt, he got a presidential, it was amazing. You understand? The guy from Guinea-Conakry, the president said, listen, as from now, you're not going to catch public transport. We'll get your car or whatever. These are the kind of support that we need, but we don't have that all across Africa. And we have to understand, these boxers with the right support can go all the way. You understand? And what it does, it inspires other young men and young women to take up that sports in the country. You understand? Boxing is still one of the highest paid sports in the world.
You could make millions in one night.
Life-changing. You know, so it's very sad that that's what happened. Now, my vision that I've got is I think there should be a championship tournament happening every month somewhere in Africa. Every month. So which means that every month, the last Friday or the last Saturday of every month should be a Saturday or Friday fight night. You understand? That's what I believe that should happen.
But let me tell you something. As you probably know, the Africa Elite Men and Women Boxing Championships are going on in Kinshasa,
Yeah.
right? The Congo. Not a lot of African countries went, and this was supposed to be one of the things for Africa, and not a lot of countries went. And I read something recently in a group I'm in where someone noted that there were 147 boxers, right? That registered, and then based on how they are doing the medals, about 100 boxers essentially are going to get medals. So the point here is that when you say every month, we have to look at quality and quantity, right? You could have boxing every month. In fact, that program that I showed you, that will be happening in Ghana, that was we thought about that and we're like, we could do this every month. But then the question is, if we have, that means a lot of boxers will be participating, right?
Yeah, but it's not going to be every month. You see what it is? It's not going to be every month in one location. Technically speaking, it
Mm-hmm.
works out to be one boxing a year in one country.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you're going to you see, it sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Are you
Because
looking at just the West Africa for now?
well, no, I'm thinking about the whole of Africa. But what I'm saying to even if you
But there are
took
more
it,
than 12 countries in Africa.
no, I understand. No, that's what I was just about to say. So it's a lot less than we think. It could be, I mean, look, not every Africa is going to be able to facilitate certain things. Not every
Mm-hmm,
African country.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
understand? But what I'm saying is, even if you took into account that, say there was 12 African countries, I just gave a
mm-hmm,
figure. There's probably
mm-hmm,
more.
mm-hmm,
If one African country done once a year, it's still only
mm-hmm.
once a year. But if each of them do once a year, that's still 12. That's 12 boxing in a year, which works out to be a boxing tournament, a championship fight or tournament once every month. What
Mm-hmm.
that does, again, because you have that in the States, you have that in Europe and in UK, you have Friday night fight night. You understand? You
Yep.
know, and at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be just Africans fighting each other. We can. This is the way we can bring international boxers into the fold of what we're trying to do. For me, I truly believe in. I believe in kicking the door down and not waiting for anybody to open it for you. You understand? There is too much money circulating in the whole of Africa for our African fighters not to be well paid within Africa, so that there is a desire for other fighters to fight in Africa, and there could be a more of a desirable exchange program that allows our own African fighters to also fight outside Africa.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and then we will close quickly.
Okay.
So where you say you've been kind of off for about a year now, people have been asking,
Mhm.
where are you picking up from? And for any countries, African countries that are listening, and if any of the leaderships are interested in this concept, what did they do?
Well, it's only the last couple of months I started speaking to some of the directors again. We've not stopped doing things. Things have been happening all around. So nothing has stopped. But in the sense of when I personally plug in all my energy into
Mm-hmm.
something, it will be a lot bigger than what is
Mm-hmm.
being done in some of the other regions. But All African Boxing Board of Control has been operating non-stop since. Alpha Male as a promotional company, we like I said, we've taken a bit of a backseat.
Mm-hmm.
Simple reason why, just again, like I said, we were lacking some support and other things I don't want to go into right now, which is really disappointing. Now, where we're at right now and what we're looking at into the future is this. It's really simple, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
The African nations that really have a heart to develop boxing, let's come together.
I see where you're coming from.
Let's have a candid conversation. All African Boxing Board of Control was founded by me, but it was never something that's supposed to belong to me. It doesn't belong to any one person.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? So the first thing is, let's have a candid conversation. Whenever I'm being introduced, the only title I have is the founder of All African Boxing Board of Control. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? I don't have the final and complete and the only say in what's going to happen next. So what I'm saying is, let's create a forum where all the leaders of boxing all across Africa can come together and have a candid conversation on how we can truly take boxing to the next level, how we can have once a month, how we can create the safety elements of it, how we can create the business side of it, how we can, because if you say to a boxer right now, you have to pay for a license. They don't realize we're asking you to pay for a license because when you fight, we need to hire a doctor. We need to make sure ambulance is there. We need to make sure that all these things are put in place. You understand? So there's education that has to happen as well within boxing. You understand? There is also, why do I say that? Because like you said 2 people. I know of even more. Every time there's a qualifier, people are getting disqualified because they don't even understand, and they'll be like, well, I'm only a little bit overweight, can't I still fight? No. There's a weight class in place. No, we can't. I know you're doing that in your gym and you're doing that in some of the tournaments that you're in, but that's illegal. You cannot do that under a boxing board of control. You understand? Finally is this. I want to be able to sit down with them and say, listen, from a place of development, let's grab a few 8 to 12-year-olds, 40 to 14 years old, that we can start developing now. You understand? Really push these guys, you understand? Create a scholarship program for them so that, you understand, we can send them to school. This is something that I was doing. We can send them to school. We can speak to the parents. Look, we've seen that your daughter or your son has something special, but education is important. So what we're going to do, we're going to put something together, pay for their school fee for the next few years, you understand, so that they can go to school, come to the gym, go to the school, come to the gym. We will be speaking to the teachers, making sure they're on top of their schoolwork or whatever. Because when you've got that kind of academy in place, you're gonna develop champions. It's just that simple, and you're gonna develop intellectual champions.
Let me ask you. I want you to clarify something for me. You said that because we have a lot of viewers from Africa, but you said that you want serious-minded African countries for all of us to get together to do this. 2 questions. So on the board of control, is any country, are countries represented by someone from the country, or they are represented by like a region? That's one. And then second, who determines who a serious boxing country is? Or let's say Benin, which don't have a lot of boxers, or Togo, if they want to be a part of this, what would you guys say? You can be, or so answer those 2 questions.
Of course, I think every African country that want to be part of this should be part of this and can be part of this, because one African country can only probably present 1 boxer. Another one might be able to present 10 boxers. But what happens if that 1 boxer from that country is the best out of all of them? You understand? That's the first thing. So they're all welcome. We have to do our due diligence to make sure that whoever they're producing is of the standard where they can fight for championship or whatever. This is the thing. Why do I say let's come together and have a conversation? There should be regional tournaments happening. You understand? Because you have to also have a league, almost like a league of who's your best heavyweight, who's your best middleweight, who's your best whatever. When we're doing championship bouts and we're looking at it, whatever, and we've got and we should be having videos or whatever, we can match up. People should be challenging each other. Hey, look, that guy from Guinea-Conakry, you understand? You know what I mean? I think I can take him. I think that I've got what it takes. We have to be able to look at these league tables. So you have your regional league tables. So that's why we have British champions. You understand? We have regional champions. I should be able to look at Nigeria and say, who's the best heavyweight? Who's the best middleweight? Who's the best? Well, you understand? And then now we can start pairing people up together and start creating an atmosphere of where we know the best fighters are fighting each other.
And you make a great point. One of the things that really has been plaguing boxing, even in the big stage professional world, is sometimes the best don't fight the best. But if we want the continent to be represented very well out there, we should let in our best fight the best. And I always say this to my home country of Ghana, that the best should always be fighting the best. Yes, sometimes if you have 2 best, you want them to have different career paths to go on to the world. But before you come to these 2 best, they should have really been challenged locally, not dodging boxes from each other. And I'll tell you, that program Street to Champions that I put on, that's the one thing that we are making sure the rules and criterias and everything that we have put in place is to make sure that the best fight the best. And
Well,
sometimes.
The UFC model is the best model. You know, in the
Mhm,
UFC, you cannot dodge each other for long. You understand? Eventually, and it doesn't take long for the best, the pound for pound fighter or the best fighter, the number one ranking fighter fights the number one ranking fighter or the number two ranking fighter. But sometimes it's number one and number two that's going to fight to move the table up. So whoever was number two might now become number one. The one that was number one is now number three. The one that's three is gone to two. So these things have to be created. These elements have to be created. And but listen, if we can have a candid conversation and we can come to the table and really talk about what we want to do, I think we can really take African boxing to the next level.
So, your last word to people watching about the boxing control that you founded, and what if anybody wants to get in contact in any African country, or people want to know about this and they want to be a part of it, because of course we have a short segment, we can't touch on everything, all the goals, and so if they actually want a proper information about what this is about, the aim of it, some of the things that it has done, and why they should consider even, let's say, getting their country's boxing federations or the boxing community to be a part of this. Where should they go? And then your last word for them.
We're on Facebook, and I think we have some social media campaigns. We're actually doing a new website now. So in the next maybe month or so, we'll have the website up, and we'll have some information on the website and some more announcements on the website. We'll use the announcement and social media to start announcing. The website and social media to start announcing some new things. I'm sure they can come to you because you've got all our contacts and everything, so they can actually even come to you and say, "Hey, look, we want to get through to these guys." And Mohammed Juf is really the main point of contact because he's able to filter through, the important and what's going on, whatever. So I think you have all his details. You can put it up, or they can contact you for his details, and he will filter and bring it down to me. But it's quite easy to find us, All African Boxing Board of Control, Facebook and stuff like that. My last word, first of all, I want to give a big shout to, there's a couple of people like Hope Ikpoku, who is actually the vice president of Alpha Male Sports Entertainment, and of course Mohammed Juf, Mr. Kaita. These are the directors of the All African Boxing Board of Control. Jason Matthews, the former WBO champion and British champion, who has also been training a lot of the African fighters, and he's been spending a lot of time in Gambia as well, just doing all of that. So I just want to give him a big shout. The last thing I'll say is, look, it's very simple. There's a saying, isn't it? It says, "Without a vision, my people perish." You understand? We have to have a vision. I was in Ghana, by the way, not too long ago, and I spoke to the the Boxing Association, and but we'll see how that goes. But let's come together, guys. You know what? If we can just come together, let's create a forum where the leaders of the country, of like the boxing, whether it's the vice, whatever, let's come together and have a conversation of how we can collectively take boxing to the next level. You're saying something, you say something's happening here, something's happening there. These are what you're saying. I can also tell you things are happening there. But what happens when we say something's happening and it's part of the same organization and it's happening all around the place? There's power behind that. You understand? Now you can have different promoters. No problem. People should not feel like they're going to lose their identity. Sometimes you're not going to lose your identity. You're going to still keep it. But let's work under one banner so that we can have strength and we can have the bargaining power to fight anywhere in the world.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to do this again.
Definitely.
You sound like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah saying that all Africa. But I like that idea. We got to market ourselves. We got to put the best on the international stage.
Mm.
Hopefully, information will start coming through, and then I'll make sure that I get them all. Thank you very much, Mr. Bassoon. It was
Thank
nice
you so
talking
much
to you.
for that. Really appreciate it. It was amazing talking to you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was Mr. Michael Bassoon, the founder of All Africa Boxing Board of Control, a Sierra Leonean by birth. UK has been in UK all his essentially life, but he has the heart of Africa in mind. He loves boxing. He has put something in place that personally is new to me also. So it will just be more of information, getting more information on it, and what to do with it. But there's always strength in numbers, and I think that's what he's trying to do, and that's why I alluded it to Kwame Nkrumah. All right, guys, this was a fun one. I love it. Again, this is African Boxing Unmasked, where we elevate African boxing, positively exporting the sport of boxing from Africa to the rest of the world. If you have something positive, we always welcome it on KA Sports Boxing. But I did do a plug-in before, and I'm gonna do it again. Very soon, we are gonna do this in Ghana, November 16th. Make sure you catch it. Street to Champions. We have some of our immediate future champions who will be fighting on there. And then we're also looking into the future to unearthing talent. So Street to Champions brought to you by Ace Power Promotions and Center Point Mall. You don't want to miss it. November 16th. It's going to be fireworks. I know that these young men and women will be putting on their best, but also some of our immediate or future, I should say, champions will also be there. So please join us. Once again, this is the Boxing Doc from KA Sports Boxing, and this is African Boxing Unmasked. So please make sure you join me next time when we have something positive about African boxing on here. Again, I'm your host, the Boxing Doc. Have a good day.